Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever wondered why some people rise while others stay stuck? What if the version of you that succeeds is just one decision away? And how would your life change if you started acting like your future self? Today, you don't become great by accident. It's a conscious decision, one you must make daily. Every single action you take is either pulling you toward your future or anchoring you to your past. If you truly want to rise, you have to embody the person who has already made it. Speak with clarity. Move with intention. Show up as the version of yourself that already owns the life you're chasing. Because identity isn't something you wait to find. It's something you show through your choices. The very moment you begin to act like it's already yours, something shifts. You begin transforming into the version of you who has earned it. In just a few moments, you'll learn exactly how to step into that identity and align your behavior with your dreams. Every decision you make is a vote for the person you're becoming. The challenge? Most people don't vote for their highest self. They vote for comfort over courage. You say you want success, but are your actions truly aligned with that desire? If your ideal self rises early, keeps learning, and speaks with unwavering confidence, then today is the day to begin living like that's already who you are. Don't wait to feel prepared. Don't wait for permission. Growth doesn't ask for approval. Think of your mind as the engine and your habits as the wheels. If you want to move forward, you need to start steering now. As the saying goes, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Confidence doesn't come from overthinking. It's built by showing up, especially on the days when your voice shakes and your palms sweat. Consider Florence Nightingale. She didn't sit around waiting to feel brave. She stepped into disease-ridden hospitals and became bravery itself. You can't wait until you feel like the person you want to become. You have to act like that person first. That's how you step into that reality. So ask yourself, what are your habits casting votes for today? Are they shaping the leader you envision? Or are they silently keeping you tethered to the familiar? You don't become a leader by watching others lead. You become one by making the choice every single day to let your actions reflect your highest aspirations. And if you keep showing up like the person you wish to be, one morning you'll wake up and realize you already are. You say you want to live boldly, but fear often speaks louder than faith. It sneaks in quietly, but grips tightly. Fear doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It tugs at you softly, just as you're about to move forward. It's that quiet hesitation, that subtle second-guessing that creeps in when you're on the edge of progress. And every time you hesitate, every time you pull back, you're sending your nervous system a message. Fear is the one in control. Over time, your body remembers that retreat. And without even realizing it, you become trapped, not by your circumstances, but by your repeated response. But here's the truth. The opposite can be just as powerful. Every time you take a step forward despite the pounding in your chest, every time you speak up while your voice trembles, you're rewriting that message. You're telling your soul that courage is in charge. You're training your spirit to follow growth instead of clinging to safety. Because real boldness isn't about volume. It's not about being loud or reckless. Boldness is quiet. It's intentional. It stands tall, grounded in conviction. It's choosing to rise while your legs are shaking. It's trusting that moving forward is more valuable than staying stuck in what's comfortable. Eleanor Roosevelt, one of the most influential voices of the 20th century, once feared public speaking. Her voice quivered, her hands shook, but she stood anyway. Not because she was fearless, but because the mission was more important than the fear. Her legacy wasn't built by waiting for confidence to arrive. It was built by choosing faith in the middle of fear. She acted boldly, and that decision echoed far beyond herself. And you? You might be waiting for that perfect moment, for fear to vanish, for your confidence to finally catch up. But what if that moment never comes? What if fear doesn't leave, but you grow stronger anyway? What if the only path is straight through? The real question isn't, are you scared? The real question is, will you act anyway? What choice could you make today that aligns with your boldest, truest self? What step would you take? Not because you feel completely ready, but because you refuse to let fear write your story. Boldness is a muscle. And like every muscle, it strengthens through tension, repetition, and resistance. You don't wake up bold. You become bold through small, often unseen decisions, through the hard conversations, through the quiet moments when no one is watching, but everything is at stake. It's in those raw, vulnerable moments when your voice quivers but you speak anyway that real boldness takes root. You don't have to conquer the entire mountain today. You simply need to take one honest step. Make the call you've been avoiding. Say yes to the opportunity or no to what no longer serves you. Ask the question. Send the message. Begin, because you're not sitting around waiting for courage to knock. You're becoming courageous, choice by choice, moment by moment. Bit by bit, inch by inch, you're reshaping the story of who you are. Each bold move, no matter how small it seems, is a silent vote cast in favor of the person you're becoming. You're not just choosing actions, you're choosing a future. Every decision is a seed, one for growth, for expansion, for destiny. So ask yourself, what will you plant today? Will it be comfort or courage? Safety or stretch? Fear or your future? Your legacy won't be defined by how you felt. It will be shaped by what you did in spite of those feelings. Boldness is built one act at a time. So imagine this. If your future self walked into the room today, would they nod in recognition of your actions? Or would they feel like a stranger? That version of you, the one you've visualized in your clearest moments, the one you've whispered about in prayer, are your daily choices reflecting their discipline, their integrity, their focus? Or have your days slipped into delay, filled with distraction and diluted effort? Because here's the truth. Transformation isn't something you wish your way into. It's something you walk into. You construct it step by step, day by day. Not through occasional bursts of inspiration, but through the quiet rhythm of consistent decisions. The greatest deception isn't what others tell us. It's what we tell ourselves. Speaking about becoming someone new while living in a way that contradicts that vision is the deepest kind of self-betrayal. James 1 verse 22 reminds us, "Be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves." That verse doesn't call for performance. It calls for alignment. It demands integrity between belief and behavior. You don't move heaven with lofty speeches. You honor it by living out those visions with consistency. You might have the best of intentions, but intention without action, that's just imagination. Real alignment means your thoughts, your words, and your steps are all pointed in the same direction, forward. And history backs this up. Benjamin Franklin didn't rely on wishful thinking. He proved that transformation isn't mystical, it's measurable. His life was shaped by structure, by habits, by the deliberate application of values. Benjamin Franklin didn't just wish to be virtuous. He committed to it with precision. Every day, he tracked 13 specific virtues, holding himself accountable with ink and intention. His journey toward wisdom wasn't a matter of chance. It was born at the crossroads of routine and unwavering resolve. He understood something profound. Greatness is not a result of rare moments of brilliance, but of consistent, deliberate behavior practiced over time. And that truth still stands. It's as relevant today as it was then. So here's the question staring you in the face. What do your current habits predict about your future? Not your hopes, not your affirmations, your habits. Are you actively constructing the life you say you want, or just acting out a convincing rehearsal of progress? If your future self is laser-focused, how are you managing distractions right now? If that future version of you is financially free, how are you handling money today? If they live with bold courage, what difficult truth do you need to speak at last? If they're deeply respected, what personal disciplines must you begin honoring without delay? Confidence doesn't bloom from wishful thinking. It grows from a garden of kept promises, promises you make to yourself again and again. Power isn't declared. It's built quietly through the decisions you make when no one else is watching. You say you want transformation, but are you actually living like it's already underway? Stop waiting for the right mindset, the ideal moment, or some mystical clarity to descend. What if clarity is the result of obedience, not the requirement for it? What if growth only comes after you take action, not before? Start asking better questions. Not when will I change, but what would my future self do next? And then do that. Not once, not sporadically, daily. Discipline isn't dramatic. It's not loud or glamorous. It's quiet. It's steady. It's showing up again and again, realigning your actions with the identity you claim as your own. This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. Because in the end, your identity is not just an idea. It's a pattern. You are in essence what you consistently do. So if you want to become someone different, it begins by choosing different actions and choosing them consistently. The truth is, your future self isn't waiting to appear from thin air. That version of you is waiting to be built. And the building blocks? They're already in your hands. Today's choices, today's habits, today's mindset. So the question now becomes, what will you do with this day? Will you move intentionally toward the life you claim to desire? Or will you delay once more, hoping that transformation somehow finds you on its own? Because the truth is, it won't. But you can move. You can choose to show up today as if your future self is watching. Because in a very real way, they are. And they're quietly depending on you to get this part right. Most people are stuck in a waiting game. They hope motivation will strike like lightning. Sudden, brilliant, undeniable. But motivation isn't lightning. It's fire. And fire doesn't just appear. It must be fed. Not once, not occasionally, but every single day. If you wait for motivation to move you, you're gambling with your growth. But when you build motivation, it becomes a force that multiplies. And that choice to build it is always within reach. If you want to act like the person you admire, don't wait for applause. Start in the shadows. Build their habits in silence. Form their mindset when no one's watching. Practice their discipline when it's inconvenient, when it's unglamorous. Because the spotlight never creates greatness. It only reveals what was already built, patiently, privately, in the dark. That kind of growth demands sacrifice. You'll have to say no when others say yes. Not from fear, but from vision. You'll need to choose discipline when others choose distraction. You don't do it because you think you're better. You do it because you're becoming someone greater. There's a timeless reminder. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. To number your days is to understand that each one holds value. That time isn't infinite and shouldn't be treated like it is. Every minute you invest is a vote for the future you're shaping. Time is your currency, and where you spend it reveals what you truly value. So what does your calendar reveal about your character? Are you feeding your fire, or are you letting it flicker and fade under the weight of distractions? Look at the story of Booker T. Washington, born into slavery. No privilege, no connections, no inheritance. And yet, he taught himself to read by candlelight. He scrubbed floors to pay for education. He didn't wait for anyone to discover his potential. He worked so relentlessly that eventually his potential could not be ignored. He became a respected educator, author, and trusted advisor to presidents. His drive didn't fall from the sky. It was forged in silence. His motivation wasn't gifted. It was grown. It didn't descend from above. It was kindled within. So ask yourself, what are you feeding your fire with today? Are you stoking it with books that challenge your thinking, with goals that stretch your limits, with mentors who shape your character? Or are you dimming it with shallow conversations and mindless habits? Because the person you admire, they're not magical. The people you admire aren't fueled by luck or magic. They are intentional. They are disciplined, especially when no one is watching. They train in silence, when no applause is given. They study quietly, even when no one else cares. That's the real difference. That's the unseen gap between those who wish and those who become. Fire doesn't thrive on grand gestures. It lives off steady attention. Yes, fire grows when it's fed, but it also fades when it's ignored. So don't wait around hoping for a massive spark to ignite your purpose. Start with what you have. Begin with something small, a focused morning routine, a 30-minute reading session, a tough conversation you've been avoiding, a brave first step toward the unfamiliar. Feed your fire in subtle ways. Do it daily. Do it consistently. Because your future doesn't need a dramatic flash. It needs a sustained flame. That flame becomes your internal compass. It illuminates the path ahead. It brings warmth to those around you. It becomes the anchor of your clarity, your leadership, your strength. But let's be clear, this fire is your responsibility. No one else will tend to it. No one else can. Because no one else knows the exact dream that burns inside you. So you must protect it, nurture it, Show up for it. Not just when you're motivated, but especially when you're not. Not because it always feels good, but because it always matters. So today, feed your fire. Fuel it with vision. Strengthen it with discipline. Ground it in truth. Because the path your future self will walk tomorrow is being lit, step by step, by the flame you nurture today. And here's something most people miss. You cannot become who you're meant to be while clinging tightly to who you used to be. Yet that's the silent trap that captures so many. They long for elevation, but resist the evolution required to get there. They crave new results, yet refuse to release the old identity holding them back. But the truth is, you cannot step fully into a new life while dragging the weight of an old one behind you. If you want to rise, something has to be released. If you truly desire transformation, you must be willing to let go of patterns, thoughts, habits, relationships that no longer serve the version of yourself you're working to build. Yes, it might feel like loss, but it's not. It's the shedding of what no longer fits. It's the sacred process of transformation. The letting go of what was, so what is meant to be can finally emerge. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Not by forcing change, not by trying to impress others, not by performance, but through quiet, steady inner renewal. Renewal always comes with a price, and that price is unlearning. It asks you to pause, to reflect, and to question the beliefs, labels, and narratives you've carried for years, maybe even decades. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's faithful to your future. You might be holding on to an identity shaped by pain, by survival, or by fear. But that identity was never designed to carry you forward. It was only meant to get you through. That version of you, the one forged in hardship, served its purpose. But it's not meant to walk with you into the next chapter. Because purpose doesn't dwell in the shadows of your past. It lives in the light of who you're becoming. And no one embodied this truth more powerfully than Harriet Tubman. Born into the brutal chains of slavery, she fought with relentless courage to claim her freedom. But she didn't stop there. She returned again and again, risking everything to lead others toward liberty. She wasn't just running away from a broken system. She was shedding an identity. Harriet stopped seeing herself as property and began living as a pathfinder. She didn't let her past dictate her potential, and neither should you. Ask yourself, what identity must I let go of to rise higher? What internal narrative needs rewriting? What mindset must I in order for my true purpose to live? Because this journey isn't about abandoning who you really are. It's about shedding who you never truly were. It's about releasing the insecure version, the one filled with doubt, the one that plays small and seeks permission. The version built on other people's opinions, old wounds, and outdated stories. Your destiny is far too valuable to be weighed down by unnecessary baggage. So take a closer look. What are you still gripping that your future self would never carry? Is it a toxic relationship? A belief that limits your worth? A title that no longer fits the person you're becoming? Or maybe it's an apology you've waited for, one that may never come. Whatever it is, set it down. Not tomorrow. Now. Because your freedom isn't hiding behind your next big accomplishment. It's found in your next release. The version of you that you're meant to meet, that bold, whole, powerful version, is already waiting. But you can only meet them when you're brave enough to leave behind who you no longer are. And the truth? The cocoon was never meant to last forever. It must break for the butterfly to fly. Just as a seed must crack open before it can grow, you too must release what no longer serves you in order to rise. That's the truth at the heart of transformation. It's not always clean. It's not always neat. But it is sacred. Growth rarely arrives in perfect packaging. It often begins in moments that feel messy, uncertain, even painful. Let today mark the funeral of every false identity you've ever worn. Let this be the day you bury the versions of yourself rooted in fear, shame, or survival. And let it also be the birth of your becoming. Say it out loud if you need to. I'm no longer who I was. I'm becoming who I was always meant to be. Move forward, not with apology, but with authority. Not with hesitation, but with clarity. Because the life you seek doesn't begin with adding more. It begins with letting go. It begins with release. So step forward and carry yourself like the version of you who's already free. Because the most dangerous lie isn't that you might fail. It's that you have time. Time to start later. Time to grow later. Time to change later. But later is the silent graveyard of potential. It's the place where visions wither, where dreams quietly decay, and where purpose gets postponed until it vanishes. Every second you delay stepping into your future self, you reinforce the version of you that's standing still. And here's the hard truth. If your current self isn't growing, then it's slowly fading. That's why you must be intentional with how you live. Not as someone careless with time, but as someone wise, making the most of every opportunity. That means this moment, right now, matters more than you realize. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Opportunity doesn't wait for the stars to align. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It shows up for those who are prepared and present. And history has shown us this. In the 19th century, while many businessmen in Britain sat back, waiting for markets to improve or for the right timing to arrive, one man, Thomas Holloway, chose a different path. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for clarity. Instead, he created impact. Holloway built one of the most influential pharmaceutical companies of his time. But he didn't stop there. He used his wealth to found Holloway College for Women, a bold, radical act in an era when women's education was often ignored. He could have waited. He could have played it safe. But Thomas Holloway didn't wait. He moved with urgency. He didn't let profits sit idle. He turned it into purpose. And now, the question shifts to you. Are you mistaking fear for wisdom? Are you letting hesitation disguise itself as patience? Are you telling yourself you're waiting for clarity when what you really need is courage? The future doesn't demand perfection. It demands momentum. You don't need to have every answer to move forward. Acting like your future self isn't about certainty. It's about refusing to stall. Every hour you delay bold action, you lose the power of momentum and the compounding effect of growth. One brave step today multiplies into greater strength tomorrow. But in action, it adds up to nothing. And over time, that nothing becomes everything. The cost of delay is almost invisible at first. It hides behind good intentions and busy schedules. But give it time, and it becomes devastating. Stop convincing yourself you'll begin when life finally slows down, when things get easier, when you feel more ready. That day doesn't come. It's a mirage. The world won't pause to wait for your confidence to catch up. It rewards those who move despite their fear. So ask yourself, what decision could you make today that your future self will look back on with gratitude? What conversation are you avoiding that might unlock the next level of your growth? What habit could you begin? Not because it's easy, but because it's essential. What vision are you carrying right now that deserves your action? Not someday, but now. You say you want change. You say you want a different life. But are you living differently? Or are you simply talking about it? Time is the most expensive currency you will ever own. And once it's spent, there's no earning it back. Stop protecting your limitations by giving them elegant names. Stop wrapping procrastination in philosophical language. Time doesn't answer to desire. It only responds to discipline. If your dream truly matters to you, then time isn't something you can afford to waste. It's not a luxury, it's a test. And the way you spend your minutes will ultimately define the measure of your life. You're not promised someday. You're only given this moment, this hour, this decision. So move now. Make the call. Start the project. Have the hard conversation. Say yes. Say no. But whatever you do, don't stay still. Because stillness isn't peace. It's decay, quietly wearing a disguise. Minute by minute, choice by choice, you are either building your future or burying it. The clock keeps ticking, indifferent to your dreams. But your purpose? It notices everything. So step forward and keep stepping. Because destiny doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to action. It honors the doer, not the dreamer. You say you want to rise. But here's the deeper question. Who are you when no one's watching? That hidden version of you, the one who lives behind closed doors, holds the keys to the life you say you want. That version writes the real story of your becoming. It's not your public image, not the polished words, the rehearsed speeches, or the filtered posts. It's the quiet discipline, the behind-the-scenes effort, the silent decisions you make when no one else will ever know. That's where destiny is shaped. Public victory is simply the echo of private discipline that's been practiced again and again in secret. Proverbs 4 verse 23 reminds us, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. What flows from you when the applause dies down, when the stage goes dark, when no one's keeping score? At midnight, when the world sleeps and the noise fades, what are you feeding your mind? What thoughts are on repeat? What habits are you rehearsing? These are not insignificant details. They are the foundation stones of your future. The answers to these questions quietly build or quietly erode what you're becoming. Think of George Washington Carver. Born into slavery, he could have accepted limitation, but he didn't. He didn't wait for a spotlight, a platform, or permission. He worked in silence, long before anyone knew his name. He labored in hidden laboratories, often through the night, turning the humble peanut into a source of hundreds of innovations. His brilliance wasn't a burst of luck. It was built in the stillness. His legacy wasn't born in public applause. It was nurtured in personal solitude. The world heard his voice only because his preparation whispered faithfully behind the scenes. So ask yourself honestly, are you mastering your habits in the quiet? Are you building strength, integrity, and clarity when no one's watching? Are you preparing in the dark what you intend to reveal in the light? Because the truth is, success doesn't begin on the platform. It doesn't start in front of an audience. It starts on the floor of discipline, where no one claps and no one cheers, but everything changes. You don't rise suddenly. You rise steadily, by meeting the moment with the quiet readiness you've been building behind the scenes. Don't be fooled by today's culture of instant fame and overnight success. True greatness is never microwaved. It's slow-cooked. It's forged through time, through repetition, through relentless consistency. And that process, it's not glamorous. The furnace of growth is rarely seen. It's quiet. It's lonely. It's filled with decisions that no one applauds, but heaven sees and counts every single one. So ask yourself honestly, who are you when no one's watching? Would your future self be proud of the way you spend your midnight hours? Or would they be puzzled by your inconsistency? Would they see a life in training for greatness, or one distracted by temporary comfort? Every private choice is a seed, and over time, every seed grows into something. The question is, where are you planting? If you desire the fruit of excellence, then you must first plant the seed of integrity. If you want the fruit of influence, you need to sow the seed of service. And if you're dreaming of real, lasting impact, then begin by cultivating the seed of hidden diligence. Greatness doesn't come from craving applause. It comes from living in alignment when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, just you, your decisions, and your creator. So start now. Start winning in private. Start training as if the world already sees you. Speak with excellence, even when you think no one hears. Work with excellence, even when no one says thank you. Show up with excellence, even when the rewards feel distant. Because when your moment finally arrives, and make no mistake, you won't need to rise to meet it. You will already be there, ready, not because of luck, but because of legacy. A legacy that was built quietly, patiently, one private decision at a time. So guard your heart, sharpen your habits, strengthen your soul, and live this day as if your future is already watching, because it is. You were born with power, but then came the conditioning. The slow erosion of self-belief, the subtle voices that told you to wait your turn, to dim your light, to not take up too much space. So you learn to shrink. You learn to apologize for your presence. You learn to ask permission for things that were already yours by design. But here's the truth. The version of you that will transform your life, and maybe even change the world, will never be found hiding behind the need for approval. That path forward doesn't begin with someone else's permission. It begins with your own internal conviction. Galatians 1 verse 10 asks us a powerful question. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Because the truth is, you can't serve both your future and your fear at the same time. One must die so the other can live. And yet, so many people keep waiting to be chosen, not realizing they already are. Chosen to lead, chosen to build, chosen to speak, chosen to shift the room simply by standing in it. But still, they hesitate. Still, they defer their destiny to the comfort of others' opinions. Still, they shrink in rooms they were born to transform. Look at the legacy of Sojourner Truth. She had every reason to remain silent. Born into slavery, stripped of her rights, denied humanity, she had every excuse to stay invisible. But she didn't. She stood tall in courtrooms. She thundered truth from pulpits. She didn't wait for someone to tell her she was ready. She decided she was ready. And that single decision helped change history. That same decision now lies before you. Will you keep waiting to be selected, validated, approved? Or will you rise, speak, move as the chosen one you already are? Stop handing over your destiny to people who don't even understand your assignment. Stop asking for permission from minds too small to hold the size of your calling. Stop trying to shrink yourself to fit into environments that were never designed to contain your future. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to break through, to disrupt, to rebuild, to reimagine what's possible. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, it will require sacrifice. But name one truly great thing that was ever born without discomfort. So ask yourself, what would it look like today to take up the space your calling requires? To walk into every room with the quiet authority of someone who already belongs there, because you do. To speak with confidence, not because you have all the answers, but because your voice matters. Every time you wait for permission, you delay your purpose. Every moment you chase applause, you risk sacrificing your authenticity. But when you stop waiting and start walking, everything begins to shift. Not instantly, but inevitably, because power doesn't chase. It flows to those bold enough to claim it. You don't need more credentials. You don't need more followers. What you need is courage. The courage to believe that your presence is not a mistake. That your voice is not an accident. That your dream is not too much. It's exactly right. Let today be the day you make a bold decision to become dangerous. Not to others, but to fear, to doubt, to every limiting system that ever tried to keep you small. Let today be the day you stop waiting for someone to give you permission. You were never meant to live in the shadows. You were born to illuminate. You weren't created to blend in. You were made to lead. And the moment you truly believe that, deep down, beyond the surface, is the moment everything changes. That's when you begin walking in the full power of your purpose. So rise, not with apology, but with authority. Not with arrogance, but with alignment. You don't need to ask if the world is ready for you. That question is irrelevant. You only need to decide that you are ready. Because you are, and the time is now. Most people measure progress by what they can see. The numbers, the followers, the income, the awards and accolades. But the whys? They look deeper. They measure progress by alignment, the quiet, internal engine behind every visible outcome. Because alignment isn't loud. It doesn't always show up in metrics, but it determines everything. If your life isn't aligned with your vision, then even your forward motion could be steering you sideways. That's the danger. Busy doesn't always mean progress. So pause and ask yourself, are your daily actions moving you toward your destiny, or just reinforcing your doubts? That's not a rhetorical question. It's a revealing one. Because if your habits are out of sync with your dreams, you're not being strategic. You're being silently self-deceptive. Amos 3 verse 3 asks, can two walk together unless they are agreed? That doesn't just apply to people. It applies to you and your future. If your current lifestyle is out of agreement with your desired future, one will eventually override the other. This isn't just about dreaming big. It's about living aligned. Because dreams don't just need belief. They need consistency, integrity, and proof in action. They need to be backed by a life that reflects their value. Because when your choices and your purpose begin to walk in agreement, every moment becomes a brick laid intentionally on the foundation of a life that lasts. Think of Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb in a moment of lucky brilliance. It wasn't a single stroke of genius. It was thousands of failed experiments, countless sparks, endless late nights in the lab. But each one of those efforts aligned with a clear vision, a world powered and illuminated by electricity. Thomas Edison's results were delayed, but his commitment was immediate. He didn't wait around for proof before taking action. He didn't need external validation to begin aligning with his vision. He chose alignment first, and the results followed. That's a blueprint worth remembering. So ask yourself honestly, are you truly committed to your dream, or are you merely interested in it? Are you consistent even when no one's clapping? Or Do you only take action when applause is guaranteed? Too many people live in quiet contradiction, speaking grand dreams while building daily distractions. You say you want clarity, yet you constantly feed confusion through noise, indecision, and scattered focus. You say you want greatness, but you keep choosing what feels comfortable. You claim to want impact, but your days are consumed with the trivial. Your life cannot move in two directions at once. If you're still trying to satisfy both fear and purpose, you're not moving forward. You're splitting your energy. And division always delays destiny. So take a deeper look. Which direction have you truly chosen? Not the one you talk about, the one your actions reflect. Because if you want that future, you must begin to practice it today. In what you eat, in what you read, in the words you speak, and how you respond when no one else is watching. Your choices aren't just private routines. They're public declarations. They're sermons without words. They preach something, either your belief in your purpose or your doubt in it. Every small act either confirms or contradicts the future you say you're committed to. So take a moment. Examine your day with honesty. Not perfection, honesty. Do your actions reflect who you're becoming? Or do they quietly sabotage it? Are your habits reinforcing your highest intentions or quietly eroding them? You can't fake alignment. You can only live it. And while alignment doesn't require you to be perfect, it does demand that you be honest with yourself. If you find that you're out of alignment, adjust. If you've been distracted, return. If you've been passive, recommit. And if you've drifted, begin again. But whatever you do, do not stop until your actions, your mindset, your relationships, and your daily rhythms all begin to point in one clear direction, toward the future you say you believe in. Because that's how lasting results are created. And more than that, that is how you become unshakable. Because when your life begins to preach one clear message, truth, purpose, conviction, everything starts to align. There's a harmony that begins to form, almost like music. Momentum starts to feel natural. Discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of a rhythm. And your results? They stop feeling distant. They begin to feel inevitable. But it only happens when you choose to live in alignment. Not later, not when life slows down, not when the stars finally align, but now. The person you want to become, they already exist within you. That version of you isn't waiting for a perfect day to appear. They're waiting on a decision. But here's what's true. That version of you doesn't emerge in comfort. They don't grow in easy seasons. They are revealed through adversity. They are called out by challenge. They are forged in pressure. Growth isn't something you can microwave. It's something you must endure. You have to walk through it. Because trials aren't detours. They're mirrors. They show you the strength you forgot you had. They expose the mindset you've been operating with. And they introduce you to the power you didn't know you carried. James 1 verses 2-3 reminds us, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And that perseverance? It's not weakness. It's becoming. It's the process of being shaped, refined, and strengthened. So ask yourself honestly, are you resenting the very hardship that's meant to forge you? Are you trying to run from the challenge that's designed to elevate you? Because the fire is not your enemy. The fire is your forge. It doesn't show up to destroy. It shows up to refine, to burn away what's brittle, what no longer serves you, and to reveal what's real, what's solid, what lasts. Look at Andrew Carnegie. Born into deep poverty in Scotland, he came to America as a child and started working in a cotton factory at just 13 years old. His hands were stained with labor. His journey was littered with obstacles. But every challenge taught him something. Every barrier built his discipline. Every setback refined his character. He didn't escape the fire. He stood in it. He worked long hours, studied books by candlelight, learned from mentors, and endured harsh criticism that would have broken others. And through it all, he rose, not just to become a titan of industry, but to become one of the world's greatest philanthropists, giving away the majority of his fortune to fund education, libraries, and opportunity for generations. Andrew Carnegie's legacy wasn't crafted in comfort. It was forged in adversity. The wealth he accumulated wasn't his greatest contribution. It was his mindset, his ability to face hardship head-on, to use resistance as fuel. He didn't become great in spite of the challenges. You became great because of them. So now the question turns to you. What trial are you facing right now? Are you shrinking under its weight or rising through its resistance? Are you letting it break you down or allowing it to build you up? Because how you respond under pressure reveals more about your identity than any words you speak. When the heat rises, do you complain or do you construct? Do you retreat into comfort or do you stand and rebuild? Power doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from walking into it with courage. You don't grow stronger by skipping the valleys. You grow stronger by walking through them, guided by faith and fueled by fire. So what if the pressure you're facing today isn't meant to crush you, but to prepare you? What if the very storm you're trying to escape is actually shaping your resolve, sharpening your voice, stretching your limits, building your character? You say you want to be bold? Then embrace the season that demands it. You say you want to lead? Then respond like a leader now, especially when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or uncertain. Because here's the truth. The version of you that you admire, the strong, grounded, powerful version, is not born after the battle. They're born in it. Strength isn't a result. It's a response. So lean in, not with resistance, but with readiness. Rise up, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Refuse to be broken by the very thing that was meant to build you. Refuse to shrink into excuses. Stretch beyond your limits. Grow past the pain. Push forward. Speak up. Let on. Let this moment be the moment you finally meet yourself. The version you always knew was inside, waiting to be called out. And act now, especially when it's hard, like your future self would act. Because when you learn to respond with strength in the face of struggle, you become unstoppable. And that's who you were always meant to be. Most people want clarity before they commit. They want the whole path laid out before they take the first step. But the truth is, clarity isn't the starting point. It's the result. It's not a prerequisite. It's a reward. And it only comes to those who are willing to move, even while the road is still unclear. You will never think your way into certainty. You must walk your way into it. Clarity isn't something you sit and wait for. It's something you step into. When you move, the path starts to reveal itself. When you make a decision, the fog begins to lift. That's how it works. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Not a floodlight, a lamp. That means you don't get to see the entire journey laid out ahead. You're not handed a full map. You're given just enough light for the next step. Enough to trust. Enough to act. But many people miss their moment. Not because they lack potential, but because they were waiting for confirmation that only comes after obedience. They asked for signs, but ignored the nudge. They longed for clarity, but overlooked the calling that had already whispered to them. Are you still waiting for the perfect conditions before you take action? Still holding out for guarantees before you make that bold move? But what if your future doesn't begin with proof? What if it begins with pursuit? What if the bold, wise, disciplined version of you doesn't arrive after you've figured everything out, but shows up the moment you decide to believe, even without full understanding? That version of you is born when you choose to act in faith, not fear. When you build from purpose, not from permission. So what bold move are you delaying simply because you're afraid it won't all make sense yet? What decision are you postponing because you can't see step 10? Here's the truth. You don't need to see step 10. You just need to take step 1. Because faith isn't theory. It's motion. James 2 verse 17 says, faith without works is dead. So ask yourself, what is your faith doing right now? Is it sitting silently in fear, or is it stepping forward? Even if your knees are shaking, even if you don't have all the answers. If your future self only comes alive once everything is certain, you'll never meet them. Because transformation doesn't wait for understanding. It precedes it. Power doesn't emerge through prediction. It's born through obedience. You won't become the person you dream of by calculating every risk to perfection. You become that person by trusting the inner voice, the one that says go, that says build, that says begin. You're not being asked to leap blindly. You're being invited to move wisely, step by step. And as you move, trust this. The ground will meet your feet. Trust that every step you take will teach you something the pause never could. Waiting might feel safe, but it's movement that brings revelation. Clarity is not where you begin. It's what you earn through motion. As you move, the light grows brighter. As you trust, the fog begins to lift. The map doesn't appear in full all at once. It unfolds as you walk. So don't sit around waiting for complete certainty. Instead, listen for the whisper, that subtle inner prompting, and act on it. Because movement creates momentum. And momentum? That's what starts to build confidence. And as confidence grows, so does clarity. It's not some mysterious force. It's obedience multiplied by action. That's the formula. So move. Even if it's a small beginning, begin anyway. Say yes. Make the call. Write the vision. Open the door. Take the risk. You don't need all the answers right now. What you do need is the courage to believe that purpose is strong enough to justify the first step. And once you move, you'll discover something greater than clarity. You'll begin to discover yourself. But remember this. Every time you compromise your values to fit in, to avoid conflict, to gain temporary comfort, you betray your future self. And that betrayal is rarely loud. It's subtle. A silent nod when you disagree. A smile that hides your truth. A moment of silence when your voice was needed. But peace that demands you silence your convictions is not peace. It's a prison, cleverly dressed in politeness. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. Your integrity is more than a nice word. It's your internal compass. And the moment you abandon it, you begin to drift. Not all at once. Slowly. Quietly. But over time, you'll look in the mirror and wonder, how did I get here? Integrity isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's aligning your public voice with your private values. It's being the same person when everyone is watching as you are when no one sees. Most of all, it's staying loyal to the character of your future self, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when it costs you something. Think of Abraham Lincoln. In one of the darkest, most divided moments in American history, when war tore the country apart, he had every political reason to choose popularity over principle. He could have chased approval, softened his stance, said what the people wanted to hear. But he didn't. He stood for what was right, not what was easy. He led from truth, not trend. And because of that, his leadership didn't just carry the moment. It became a model for generations. So now ask yourself, can the same be said of you? When pressure rises, do you hold your standard or bend toward convenience? Do your daily choices honor your core values? Or are they quietly selling your soul in exchange for the illusion of comfort? Because here's the truth. You will never drift into respect. You will never stumble into legacy. You won't become respected by accident. Respect, real, lasting respect, is built by choice. A choice you repeat day after day, often in silence, often when no one's watching, often when no one claps. So ask yourself, what are you standing for today? What values are you refusing to compromise, no matter the pressure? What truth are you choosing to protect, even when it makes you unpopular? Because the version of you that you're becoming, the one who will look back on these moments, won't thank you for playing it safe. They won't celebrate the time you silence your voice just to avoid tension or keep the peace. They'll thank you for something else entirely. They'll thank you for taking a stand when it mattered, for drawing the line when it was easier to let it blur, for refusing to lower your standard just to gain approval or fit in. Every choice you make is a vote, and your values? They're always on the ballot. So what are you voting for? Your higher self or your need for comfort? Your purpose or your desire to be liked? You say you want to lead, then lead with integrity. You say you want to inspire, then let your character be the loudest voice in the room. You say you want to succeed, then build a foundation strong enough to stand when the pressure comes. Because it will come. The world doesn't need more agreeable people. It needs more anchored ones. People rooted in truth, grounded in conviction, driven by purpose. So act accordingly. Act like the person you know you're meant to be. Guard your integrity like a crown, because that's exactly what it is. It's the source of your authority. It's what earns trust, what commands respect. It's what separates those who follow the crowd from those who lead it. And when the crowds fade, when the applause stops, when the spotlight shifts onto someone else, what will remain? Your name and the choices that shaped it. Let those choices be ones you're proud of. Let them be firm. Let them reflect who you truly are, not who the world tried to mold you into. Today, choose principle over popularity. Choose truth over trend. Choose consistency over compromise. Because your destiny doesn't rest in a single moment. It's shaped by every decision that brings you closer to who you were called to become. And growth? It will always demand release. Not just the release of people or places, but the letting go of old versions of yourself. The achiever you once celebrated. The identity that once earned you applause. The mindset that once kept you safe. Sometimes, those very things become the barriers between where you are and where you're destined to go. That's the paradox of personal evolution. The very version of you that got you here may not be the one capable of taking you there. And that shift, it's not a betrayal of your past. It's the beginning of your future. Isaiah 43 verses 18 to 19 reminds us, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing." God's new thing doesn't fit neatly into old frameworks. His next move won't wait for your history to catch up. It requires something bold, your release of the past, so you can fully embrace what's unfolding ahead. But releasing who you used to be doesn't mean disrespecting that version. It means honoring them for what they were. What they helped you survive, what they taught you, then choosing to lay them down. It means recognizing that while that version served a season, it's time to move forward. It's time to let go. Not because they weren't valuable, but because their role is complete. To cling too tightly to what was is to postpone what could be. Growth can't rush in if your hands are still holding on to the past. Think of Charles Darwin. Before he became the father of evolutionary biology, he was steeped in traditional thought. He studied theology. He lived within the safety of widely accepted belief systems. But then, evidence emerged that didn't match expectation. And he faced a choice: stay safe or pursue truth. He chose truth, and that decision came at a price. It cost him agreement. It strained relationships. It challenged his reputation. It disturbed his own sense of peace. But that choice also sparked a scientific revolution, one that reshaped human understanding forever. His greatness wasn't born from holding onto the comfort of who he had been. It came from releasing that identity and stepping boldly into who he was becoming. And so must you. Ask yourself, what version of yourself have you already outgrown, but are still protecting? What identity feels familiar, yet quietly holds you back? Is it the high achiever who says yes to everything, even at the cost of well-being? Is it the caretaker who hides their own needs to support everyone else? Is it the overthinker who clings to control because uncertainty feels too risky? Whatever it is, know this: your future cannot be built on a foundation of fear. You don't have to reject who you were. You don't have to resent them, but you do have to release them, because real growth, it often feels like grief. Not because something is dying, but because something deeper is being shed. Something familiar is falling away, and something greater is preparing to emerge. There's a sacredness in the shedding. The shedding of ego, the need for constant validation, the old armor you once wore to survive but no longer need. That shedding isn't weakness. It's holy. It's a ceremony of elevation, the unveiling of your most authentic self. But here's the truth. That transformation can't happen while your hands are still clinging to yesterday's strategies for survival. So pause and ask, what are you holding on to that's keeping your future waiting? Is it the story that says you're only worthy when you perform? Is it the relationship that fuels your fear instead of feeding your faith? Is it the voice in your head whispering, don't outgrow the people around you? Let go. Let yourself rise. Let yourself evolve without guilt, because guilt will always try to tether you to yesterday. But grace? Grace invites you to become, to step into the fullness of who you already are underneath the weight of who you were trying to be. Your next chapter will not be written in the ink of your past identity. It will be born in the blank space of surrender, in the stillness where you stop striving to maintain the image of who you were, and finally allow the truth of who you are to emerge. So take a breath, open your hands, bless your past for what it gave you, then release it, because the future isn't waiting for the version of you that survived. It's waiting for the version that's ready to thrive. Vision is powerful. It stirs the soul. It awakens the imagination. It calls you forward into possibility. But vision without structure is nothing more than fantasy. It stirs the heart, but fails the hand. Because what you don't structure, you can't sustain. And what you can't sustain, you'll never see fulfilled. The people you admire, the ones who seem unshakable, focused, unstoppable. They don't just dream. They plan. They don't just hope. They schedule. They treat time like currency, investing it with intention and precision. Because they know that planning isn't just organization. It's faith in action. It's a declaration. I believe my future is worth preparing for. Take Nikola Tesla, one of the most brilliant visionaries of modern electricity. His ideas were revolutionary, decades ahead of their time. But behind every stroke of genius was something far more practical. A structure, a rhythm, a disciplined routine. Tesla lived by strict schedules. His creativity was grounded in order. His breakthroughs were supported by systems. His vision didn't float freely. It followed a framework. Tesla's brilliance didn't float in chaos. It thrived in consistency. His genius was not just in what he imagined, but in how he structured his life to support that imagination. So now ask yourself, honestly, do you structure your days like someone truly chasing greatness? Or do you simply wing it, hoping everything will work out? Do you drift from task to task, reacting to whatever comes your way? Or do you design your day to align with your destiny? Because here's the truth. Your calendar is a mirror. It quietly reflects what really matters to you. You can say you value growth, discipline, and impact. But if your time isn't shaped around those values, then those words are just talk. If your time is unstructured, your dream will be too. Vision without systems always creates frustration. Why? Because your spirit sees what's possible, but your habits can't hold it. That's the gap that wears people down. That's when burnout creeps in. Not because they dream too big, but because they structured too little. So what would it look like to organize your day? Not around your lowest cravings, but around your highest self. What rituals would replace your distractions? What blocks of focused time would you use to protect your purpose? What small, consistent routines would become the roots of your future? Picture this. You wake up with intention. You know your top priorities. You've created space for deep work, for rest, for learning, and for service. Your habits aren't random. They support your calling. Your schedule doesn't drain you. It reinforces your standard. Your actions are no longer reactions. They're prophetic declarations, signs pointing toward the person you're becoming. And that isn't boring. That's power. Because discipline is not a prison. It's a pathway. And structure isn't limitation. It's liberation. It frees your mind from chaos so your vision can finally breathe. So what system could you set in motion today that your future self would thank you for? Maybe it's a simple morning routine. Maybe it's a weekly planning session. Maybe it's setting aside one sacred hour for reading, prayer, writing, or creativity. Whatever it is, make it consistent. Make it sacred. Don't just dream design. Don't just hope for change. Implement it. Give your vision a vessel. Give your destiny a daily rhythm. Because transformation doesn't happen through inspiration alone. It happens through implementation. That's the difference between those who watch the future arrive and those who build it. So open your planner. Open your calendar. Most importantly, open your eyes. Your greatness isn't hiding behind the next burst of motivation. It's waiting behind structure. That dream you've been holding on to, take it off the shelf and place it where it matters most, on your schedule. That's where dreams start to breathe. That's where visions come to life, not in someday, but in systems. One organized hour, one discipline block, one sacred, intentional step at a time. Because power isn't always loud. The strongest person in the room is rarely the one shouting the most. True strength isn't measured in volume, dominance, or bravado. It's revealed in the ability to stay calm while everything around you spins in chaos. It's in a quiet resilience that holds steady while others unravel. That kind of strength is rare. And it has a name: emotional discipline. Emotional discipline is the hidden armor of true leaders. It doesn't mean you feel less. It means you govern more. It means you no longer allow emotions to drive the car. You sit in the driver's seat, and emotions ride along as passengers, not captains. You choose mastery over impulse. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. Because if you take a city but haven't conquered your own spirit, you're only building an empire you are not yet equipped to lead. True power isn't found in force, it's found in restraint. It's the power to respond instead of react, to breathe instead of burst, To wait with wisdom when others rush in with fear. To see with clarity when everyone else is clouded by emotion. Think of Mahatma Gandhi. His resistance didn't roar, it resonated. His leadership wasn't loud, but it was unshakable. He led a movement, not with provocation, but with peace. His strength wasn't in suppressing emotion. It was in submitting it to a higher purpose. His calm wasn't the absence of fire. It was fire directed with discipline. He didn't conquer through dominance. He transformed through dignity. And what about you? When tension rises, when conflict hits, when the pressure is on, do you act like your future self? Or do you default to reactions rooted in your past? Do you hold the room with calm authority? Or do you scramble to prove your power? Do you own your emotional state? Or does it own you? Because the truth is, emotion isn't your enemy. Emotion is information. It reveals where your attention naturally drifts, where unhealed wounds still linger, and where your next stage of growth is being invited. But emotion is not meant to take the wheel. It's meant to serve as a guide, not a commander. Real power doesn't rise from raw reaction. It flows from mindful response. Reacting is instinctual. Responding is intentional. And in that narrow but powerful space between reaction and response, that's where true leadership is forged. So, the next time anger begins to boil or fear creeps in and tightens your chest, pause, breathe, and ask yourself a question that can shift everything. How would the highest version of me respond to this moment? What would your future self, the one who is calm, wise, unshakably grounded, say or do right now? Then act from that place. Not because it's convenient, but because it's essential. Emotional discipline isn't weakness. It's power in its most refined form. It doesn't take away from your passion. It directs it. It doesn't diminish your fire. It channels it with precision and purpose. You were never designed to be ruled by passing emotions. You were created to lead from a place of deep purpose, from clarity that doesn't waver with the weather of the day. And when you learn to do that, something shifts. You stop breaking even when life keeps shaking. Mastering your emotions isn't about suppression. It's about stewardship. It's choosing peace over pride, clarity over confusion, purpose over fleeting satisfaction. So today, take the opportunity to practice the pause. Let that be your power. Refuse to allow someone else's chaos to contaminate your inner climate. Don't mirror dysfunction. Lead it. Because the strongest presence in the room is not the one who dominates the conversation. It's the one who remains grounded while others spiral. The one who listens deeply, speaks intentionally, moves purposefully. Be that person, because you can't build a new life using the language of your past. The vocabulary that kept you surviving cannot architect the life where you thrive. Words are not just vibrations, they are seeds. And whatever you speak, you begin to see. Every word you say, every sentence you repeat becomes a brick. And those bricks are either constructing a fortress of faith or a prison of fear. If your language is filled with doubt, fear, and defeat, you're reinforcing the mindset of who you used to be, not who you're becoming. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, not merely in your thoughts, not only in your intentions, but in the words you speak aloud. Your words are never just background noise, they're building blocks. They aren't trivial expressions. They are powerful tools shaping your reality, moment by moment. Your mouth acts as a mirror, quietly reflecting what your heart has come to believe. And belief, more than effort or even talent, is the true foundation of transformation. You might carry a compelling vision, a deep desire to grow and evolve. But if your vocabulary contradicts that vision, if your words constantly limit what's possible, your life will eventually follow that same contradiction. Because language is never neutral. It's directional. Every word you speak is a step, either toward the person you're becoming or back into the shadow of who you were. Say, "I can't," often enough, and your actions will soon match that declaration. But say, "I will," speak it consistently, and something within you begins to shift. Your behavior aligns. Your courage activates. Eventually, you do. Think of Winston Churchill, standing in the center of global chaos. The world was collapsing into war. Bombs rained from the sky. Fear hung heavy in every breath. And yet, Churchill did not mirror that fear. He met it with words that stirred the soul. He didn't merely deliver patriotic speeches. He proclaimed destiny. He declared victory at a time when defeat seemed inevitable. He knew something most forget. Language doesn't just describe reality. It creates space for new reality to emerge. He understood that words don't just motivate, they make room for courage to grow. Declarations shape our imagination, fuel our resilience, and construct the container that belief needs to thrive. So take a moment, reflect. How have you been speaking about yourself lately? Are your words soaked in limitation or rising with possibility? Are you narrating your story as if your peak has already passed? Or are you speaking as though your journey is just beginning? Are you casting yourself as the victim of circumstances or the visionary author of what comes next? Because every time you say, "I'm just not that kind of person," you reinforce an identity you claim you want to outgrow. Every time you say, "I can't," you sign a silent contract with limitation, sealing it with your own consent. But every time you say, "I will," you open the door for power to walk in. You don't wait for the future to start speaking with authority. You speak with authority so your future can begin. Transformation doesn't happen at the finish line. It begins at your lips. The words you choose shape the roads you take. Your declarations define your direction, and your consistency, not just intensity, will determine your destination. So the question now is this: what new words must you begin using today to align with who you want to become? Not tomorrow, not someday, today, because the future won't wait, and neither should your voice. Not after confidence arrives, but in order to become confident. That's when you must speak life. Replace, "I'm overwhelmed," with "I'm organizing my priorities." Replace, "I always mess up," with "I'm learning to lead myself more wisely." Replace "this will never change" with "I'm committed to growing, even when progress feels slow." Speak like someone who expects to win, not someday, but now. Speak like someone who is preparing for elevation, not just hoping for it. Speak like someone who understands that life and death truly lie in the power of the tongue. You're not faking it when you speak powerfully, you're forming it. Words don't just describe your world, they design it. So if you want a different future, you must first develop a different vocabulary. Pause today, reflect, audit the language you've been using out loud and in your mind. Are your words building a bridge toward your future or quietly burning it down? If they're undermining your goals, it's time to shift. Speak strength, speak healing, speak life. Declare progress, even if you're only one step in. Declare possibility, even when doubt tries to dominate. Because your words are not just sound waves, they are spirit seeds. Every time you speak with intention, you're planting what will one day grow. And when harvest comes, it will come from the very language you chose to nurture today. So begin constructing your new life, one sentence, one declaration, one belief at a time. But words alone are not enough. Just as seeds need the right soil, your growth needs the right environment. Even the strongest seed won't thrive in the wrong climate. You can't grow a redwood in the desert. And likewise, you can't step into the best version of yourself while rooted in toxic surroundings. Every great transformation demands a setting that sustains it. Just like a greenhouse shelters delicate seedlings until they're strong enough to withstand the wind, your environment must protect your process of becoming. Yet far too many remain stunted, not because they lack motivation or ambition, but because they're surrounded by spaces that silently sap their strength. Environments filled with doubters, distractions, and voices that only echo your former limitations. Scripture warns with clarity, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. And not all destruction comes with thunder. Sometimes it arrives like a slow drip, one compromise at a time, one delayed decision, one excused dream. You don't become like the people around you all at once. But drop by drop, moment by moment, their influence either lifts you or locks you in place. Leonardo da Vinci. His brilliance did not arise in solitude. It was cultivated within vibrant communities of visionaries, artists, philosophers, and inventors in the dynamic cities of Florence and Milan. He thrived among thinkers who dared, creators who questioned, and patrons who expected excellence. In this environment of curiosity and challenge, his ideas didn't just survive, they soared. Could his genius have flourished so fully in a place steeped in mediocrity? where creativity was neither celebrated nor sharpened? It's unlikely, which leads to a deeper question. Who is nurturing your potential, and who is quietly draining it? When you engage in conversation, are you surrounded by voices that expand your vision or shrink your ambition? Are the people in your life pushing you toward possibility or pulling you back into familiar patterns? Do your friends applaud your growth, or do they grow uneasy when you evolve beyond the person they once knew? Not all comfort is safe. In fact, one of the most dangerous places to remain is in a circle that accepts who you were but resists who you're becoming. They may smile at your presence, yet quietly sabotage your progress. They may laugh with you, yet subtly discourage the bold steps you're trying to take. Their intention may not be to harm, but that doesn't mean their influence is harmless. Growth can be stifled not only by adversity, but by the quiet suffocation of an atmosphere that expects nothing more than what you've always been. That's why your environment matters. The soil you choose to root yourself in directly shapes the fruit you'll bear. If you want to reach higher, you must plant yourself in deeper soil, rich with truth, saturated with challenge, and nourished by encouragement. Take a hard look at where you're currently growing. What needs pruning? What do you need to release? Not out of resentment, but for the sake of your future. Uproot yourself from the places, habits, or relationships that silently choke your ambition, and replant in ground that demands greatness, not mediocrity. Because your transformation isn't only about how hard you work, it's about where you work. The seed of your destiny, no matter how powerful, cannot thrive in the wrong climate. So guard your atmosphere, protect your soil. Be intentional about who and what you allow to speak into your life. Surround yourself with people who don't just remember who you were, but who remind you of who you are becoming. People who see the wings on your back, even when you still feel tethered to the ground. Your breakthrough is not waiting on more hustle. It's waiting on better soil. Choose with intention. Because the truth is, you cannot keep what you don't actively protect. And yet, most people treat their energy as if it's limitless, pouring it carelessly into distractions, unnecessary drama, and a flood of digital noise. But your future self, the version of you that's walking in purpose, requires something very different. It demands clarity. It demands focus. Laser sharp, undivided. We live in an era that praises busyness, but quietly robs people of meaning. We're constantly bombarded with opinions that drown out original thinking. We're flooded with notifications, yet starving for purpose. In a world where attention is the currency of success, many are broke, spending on things that offer no real return. But here's the secret few will tell you. Mastery doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less of what doesn't matter. Because where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And your attention, that precious, often wasted resource, is a form of treasure. It shows what you truly value. It shapes your daily choices. It sets the coordinates for your future. If you want a glimpse of what's coming, examine where your focus is going. Because focus is the architect of destiny. Marie Curie is a vivid example. Immersed in groundbreaking research on radioactivity, she didn't chase fame or wait for applause. She wasn't moved by the trends of her time. Instead, she locked into her mission with quiet, unwavering dedication. Her fuel wasn't validation, it was discovery. And that level of devotion sparked breakthroughs that still serve humanity today. Her strength wasn't in being busy. It was in being deeply, fiercely present, unshaken, unbothered. So now, let me ask you, are you guarding your time like it actually matters? Or are you handing over your attention to whatever pings, rings, or demands it first? Real transformation requires protection. You must protect what builds you. That means closing the tabs that drain you, tuning out the noise that numbs you, and saying no to the temptations that shrink your soul. Not all distractions are evil, but many are misaligned. And every misalignment is a slow leak of energy. Every leak delays your momentum. You can't unlock clarity with a cluttered mind. You can't bring your vision to life with scattered hands and half-hearted effort. So ask yourself, what's silently stealing your energy right now? Is it a toxic conversation, an unhelpful habit, a digital detour that eats hours without feeding your purpose? Sometimes the problem isn't motivation, it's boundaries. And sometimes The breakthrough you need begins with a bold and simple word. No. Not because you're selfish, but because your vision is sacred. And sacred things must be protected, not scattered. Not everything or everyone deserves a seat at your table. You must guard your space, your schedule, your spirit, because once those are given away freely, it's incredibly hard to reclaim them. So silence the unnecessary voices. Starve the distractions that drain you. Let stillness and solitude become your sharpening stone. Greatness doesn't grow in chaos. It thrives in clarity. And clarity only rises when noise dies down. Margin is not a luxury for the elite. It's a requirement for the focused. And that margin, it doesn't appear by accident. It must be created through choices, boundaries, and intentional decisions. Living like your future self isn't about waiting for someday. It's about aligning your present actions with the identity you say you want to embody. It means asking better questions before you say yes. Does this serve my future or simply entertain my present? Does it move me closer to purpose or just distract me from discomfort? Because your future self isn't scattered. They are centered. They're not frantically trying to do everything. They're faithfully committed to doing what actually matters. That version of you is available now, not just in some distant tomorrow. So start today. Protect your attention like it's gold. Guard your energy like it's oil for your lamp. Build your future not through fantasy, but by directing your focus in the now. One of the greatest reasons people never fully change is that they treat identity like a destination, something to be found. But identity isn't a noun. It's a verb. You don't get confidence. You practice it. You don't stumble into discipline. You choose it daily. You don't wait for excellence. It's built one repetition at a time. Transformation is not a single breakthrough moment. It's a movement formed over time, layered through patterns of intentional living. Identity is formed in the unseen hours, in the quiet habits, in the daily decisions that no one praises, but that shape everything. It's built in the dark, where applause is absent and spotlights don't shine. That's where character is carved, one decision, one refusal to quit at a time. As it is written, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's the formula. Not instant glamour, not overnight luck, but grit, repetition, choosing the good again, choosing the right again, choosing it when it's hard and when it's unnoticed. Think of Louis Pasteur. Today, he stands as a pillar of modern science, his name synonymous with breakthroughs that saved countless lives. But what most forget is how often he failed. How many times he returned to the lab, faced silence, and tried again. His brilliance wasn't born from effortless genius. It was shaped through tenacity. It was born not from ease, but from sheer persistence. A kind of stubbornness that simply refuses to quit. It came from showing up again and again, from staying committed to the process even when it wasn't convenient. That's how true identity is formed. Not through merely thinking about who you wish to become, but by acting like that person would act, especially in the moments when no one is watching, when no applause is given, when the effort feels unseen and unrewarded. So ask yourself honestly, are you actively doing who you want to be, or are you just dreaming about it? You say you want to be disciplined, but are you setting the alarm, rising early, keeping promises to yourself even when it's uncomfortable? You say you want to be confident, but are you speaking with courage now? Or are you waiting until you feel completely ready? Because here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come wrapped up and delivered to your door. It doesn't arrive overnight like a package. It's not instant, it's earned. Confidence is built the same way a muscle is, through repetition. One rep at a time, one brave word, one decision that reflects who you aspire to be. Again and again. And then one day, often without realizing it, you'll look back and see you've become that person. The version of yourself you once admired from afar, they're no longer a distant vision. They're now your reality. Not because you waited for the perfect moment, but because you practiced. Practiced your values, practiced your mission, lived your truth like your future depended on it. Because it does. So stop chasing identity like it's some far-off prize. Start treating it like a daily discipline, a way of life you choose on purpose. Choose it, act it, repeat it. Let your choices cast votes every single day for the version of yourself you want to become. And when those choices stack up, one after another, habit upon habit, moment upon moment. Identity stops being a goal and becomes your way of being. It becomes who you are. And in the final stretch of becoming your future self, there is one last and essential step. It may sound simple, but it holds the deepest power of all: believe. Not just in your raw potential, but in the certainty of transformation, in the inevitability of becoming. Belief is the foundation that supports every action, every discipline, every vision. It is not weak, is not wishful, is active, living, and bold. As it's written, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That means belief isn't about waiting for confirmation. Belief is the confirmation. Belief says, I walk as if it's already done. That mindset, simple in words, yet heavy in practice, is where many people begin to stumble. They start strong. They commit to the process. But when the applause doesn't come, when progress remains invisible, when the journey feels silent and slow, they begin to hesitate. Doubt grows louder than the vision. The absence of validation begins to feel like the absence of worth. And so they stop. But the future doesn't unfold for those who merely hope. It opens up for those who believe, deeply, defiantly, daily. Think of Helen Keller. She was blind, deaf, and shut out by a world that saw only her limitations. The silence around her was not just physical. It was societal, emotional, mental. Yet within that silence, belief stirred. She chose to believe, without evidence, without approval. And that belief became magnetic. It attracted Anne Sullivan into her life. It unlocked learning, purpose, voice. Her belief didn't follow transformation. It preceded it. That belief changed not just her life, but the world. So let me ask you, what about you? Are you still waiting for a sign, for permission, for perfect proof? Or have you already decided that your possibility is non-negotiable? Are you still questioning what's possible? Or have you started acting like it's already written? Because faith isn't a wave of emotion. It's a deliberate stance. It's not about feeling ready. It's about deciding to stand in the dark and speak as if light is already breaking through. It's a declaration that says, even if no one else sees it yet, I do. And I'm moving like it's real. The person you're becoming isn't some abstract dream floating in the distance. That version of you is already real, but they're waiting on you to stop waiting, to stop hesitating, to stop deferring your identity to some unknown future. When you choose to walk in belief, you stop preparing for victory and start moving as if it's already been won. That's the real secret behind manifestation. Not grinding harder, not waiting longer, but believing deeper, embodying the outcome before it arrives, stepping like it's done, speaking like it's fulfilled, living like you're already in alignment, before anyone claps, before anyone validates, before anything is guaranteed. Because the finish line isn't always a place, it's a decision. And belief is the ribbon you break when you finally realize you were never missing anything. You were always enough. We need to stop treating belief like it's a rare gift for the lucky or the talented. It's not. Belief is a tool for the committed. It's a light that cuts through uncertainty. A compass that keeps you moving even when the map is incomplete and the road feels unclear. The truth is, no one becomes their future self by accident. Every becoming begins with a bold, internal declaration, a belief not built on praise or proof, but on purpose. So ask yourself, today, what would shift in your life if you truly believed it was inevitable? How would you speak? How would you walk? How would you work? What behaviors would you finally release? What calling would you finally answer? The vision is already within you. Now, it's time to believe like it's already yours. You already carry the spark within you. It's there, not in some distant future, but right now, quietly burning in the core of who you are. What it needs isn't more permission. It needs fuel in the form of faith. Because belief isn't just a mindset you adopt. It's the momentum that propels your next step. When you choose to believe deeply, you don't just think differently. You move differently. You lead with clarity. You walk with confidence. You show up as someone who already knows where they're going. So believe it, and then become it. The version of you that you've dreamed about, journaled about, and prayed for is not waiting for the perfect moment. It's waiting for you to act in alignment with that vision. You already know who you want to be. The picture is clear. The path is forming. Now is the moment to stop rehearsing and start revealing that version of yourself to the world. Don't wait until you feel completely ready. Don't wait until the timing feels perfect or the fear fully fades. Begin now. Press play on your purpose. Stay focused on what matters. Shift your energy away from hesitation and direct it fully toward the identity that wins. Because becoming doesn't happen in the waiting, it happens in the doing. So, as you move forward, remember, your next level isn't built in delay, it's built in decision. Stop waiting. Start becoming. Wishing you strength, health, and happiness on your journey. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more powerful content just like this.